Hey guys, I'm Mike, and I get why The Dark Tower might be the most controversial Stephen King adaptation ever, and no, I'm not talking about the casting. Who cares about Roland Deschain's skin color when a badass like Idris Elba is playing him? And without getting into spoilers, changes to the story are kind of baked into the Dark Tower concept. Frankly, I'm more alarmed by the fact that they're taking bits and pieces from 7 huge books and mixing them into one movie. But hey, sometimes a perfect adaptation isn't always the best idea, especially when it comes to Stephen King. In fact, we already got a perfect comparison. Most people already know about Stanley Kubrick's classic adaptation, The Shining, but what about the 1997 miniseries written by the author himself? At 4.5 hours, it's got a lot more room for all of the themes and details which Kubrick conveniently left out. But at the end of the day, one version of The Shining is going to be taught in film classes for centuries, and the other is damned to the bottom of the DVD bin at Walmart.
Hey, read between the lines, pal!
So what separates these two adaptations, and what lessons could we learn going into The Dark Tower? Or it, for that matter. Let's take a look at A Tale of Two Shinings.
Here's Johnny!
It's no secret that King hated Kubrick's adaptation, was really outspoken about it.
With Kubrick's The Shining, I felt that it was very cold. I'm not a cold guy.
And that's because The Shining was a deeply personal book for the author who dealt with drug and alcohol problems for most of his early career. At the time, Jack Torrance represented King's fear of his addictions hurting his own family.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry.
But in Kubrick's film, Jack is basically nuts from the get-go. Part of that comes from the script, but a big part of it also is a consequence of the casting.
Little pigs, let me come in.
Jack Nicholson is not the guy you hire for a calm, reserved performance. Even in his first scene with Ullman, Jack looks like he's about 3 seconds from gnawing his face off. In King's mind, Jack Torrance was a loving, perfectly sane father when he's off the sauce. And you definitely buy sitcom star Steven Weber as just a normal guy with some anger issues.
So shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Please!
Problem is, he's a little too normal. Jack Nicholson might chew some scenery, but you can't look away when he's on screen.
You, chopped your wife and daughter up into little bits. And, then you blew your brains out.
Weber does a decent job, but compared to Nicholson's iconic performance, let's just say he's no Heath Ledger.
Hi.
Most of the cast seems like cheap Malt-O-Meal versions of Kubrick's characters. It's cool that they got Melvin Van Peebles to play Halloran. I'm always happy to see Sweet Sweetback getting work, but he doesn't even come close to the charm of Scatman Carruthers.
Yeah. What's up, Doc?
Now, Rebecca De Mornay is actually kind of an improvement over Shelley Duvall. Kubrick's portrayal of Wendy Torrance was another reason why King hated the 1980 film so much.
Shelley Duvall as Wendy is really one of the most misogynistic characters ever put on film. She's basically just there to scream and be stupid.
But in the novel and miniseries, Wendy is actually a much stronger character.
You know, Jack, you're not drinking anymore, but all of your old drinking habits are back. If that's what this place is doing to you, then I think coming here was a really bad idea.
And honestly, it kind of hurts the story. You don't really buy that De Mornay would put up with Jack's bullshit. She'd be gone the second he broke Danny's arm. Speaking of Danny, the kid that got to play him might be one of the worst child actors I've ever seen.
Shut up! Do you hear me? Just shut up!
After 4 hours, I wanted to grab a mallet and bash his brains in.
Right the in.
Seriously, it's a long time to spend with a small group of characters. Speaking of things that wear out their welcome, let's talk about the Overlook. King came up with The Shining during a stay at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, and he shot the miniseries in the same place that inspired the book. Big mistake. The colonial decor and floral wallpaper doesn't exactly instill an ominous sense of lingering dread. One of the coolest things about Kubrick Shining is the way he turns the Overlook into the scariest character in the film. But he couldn't do that by filming it in an actual hotel. Instead, he basically built his own hotel at Elstree Studios in England. Kubrick's Overlook is one of the most subtly disturbing locations in movie history.
Come play with us, Daddy.
Everything from the patterns on the carpets to the huge spacious rooms are there to remind you how isolated the characters really are. On top of that, the layout of the hotel literally doesn't make sense. Like how Almond's office has this big window when there should be nothing but hallways behind it. Or how Danny rides his tricycle in a circle but ends up in a completely different place from where he started. It's not something you'd notice the first time you watch, but it gives us a sense that something is deeply wrong with the Overlook. The miniseries hotel might be more authentic to King's vision, but nothing about it suggests the horror is lurking within its walls. That kind of thing takes subtlety, which isn't exactly King's strong suit.
Are you crazy?
I was. But I'm better now.
And it's not director Mick Garris's either. He's the man behind a ton of mediocre made-for-TV King adaptations like The Stand, Desperation, and Bag of Bones. Spoiler alert, none of them are very good. Part of that is due to budget and network restrictions, but a lot of it comes from Garris's ham-handed directing. Like, remember Danny's invisible friend Tony? In the movie, he's just a creepy little voice that lives in his finger. In the miniseries, Danny actually sees him as a grown-ass man in chinos who floats in periodically to drop exposition bombs.
It's dangerous. You want to stay away from there.
And in the tacked on coda, we learned he's a vision of Danny's future self, something that's only hinted at in the book. Compare that to the subtlety of Kubrick's ending. A simple photograph which leaves you with so many questions. Was Jack a reincarnation of the old caretaker? Or did he somehow become absorbed into the Overlook after his death? The miniseries doesn't bother with nuance and mystery. Like the book, it ends with our heroes escaping in a nick of time as the Overlook explodes behind them. Then Jack's ghost shows up at Danny's graduation and blows him a kiss.
I love you.
That's what I've been missing.
I forgot that. I love you, Dad. I love you, son.
Why don't you blow a kiss to the nice people?
As far as King endings go, it's actually pretty restrained. But Kubrick's film is much less overt. Every time something supernatural happens, there's always a mirror somewhere in the scene, and it forces you to wonder if everything is in Jack's head. In the miniseries, the ghosts are all over the place, cackling and barking orders like they're James Bond villains. They're not even that scary, they just look like Are You Afraid of the Dark ghosts. Kubrick's ghosts are like frightening. It's like nuts. With the shorter running time and technology limitations, Kubrick had to cut a lot of the book's crazier ideas, like the living hedge animals. Kubrick knew they wouldn't work on screen, so he replaced them with the iconic hedge maze. It was a brilliantly elegant solution, but I guess Garris figured, if it's in the book, we gotta get him in there. They look terrible, and they're not even the worst CGI in the miniseries. There's the fire hose, the wasp nest, the giant scorpion monster with Dwayne Johnson's torso, and none of it is as scary as Kubrick's simple snowy labyrinth. Danny! King has always had a weird relationship with his adaptations. He disowned a masterpiece like The Shining, but he loves Dreamcatcher, shit weasels and all.
Oh my God! Oh.
And he seems totally fine with the Dark Tower movie too. Maybe he's finally starting to realize that film and literature are two very different mediums. You want some words of wisdom? When it comes to adaptations, it's always best to keep an open mind. Hey guys, I'm Mike. Thank you so much for watching this video. We love doing deep dive into like Stephen King adaptations because all of us here are pretty big Stephen King fans. And if you guys like seeing deep dives into like movie adaptations from books and stuff like this, please subscribe to Now This Nerd and don't forget to share it with your friends. Thank you.